as uncorrupt as possible.
Now look, I'm down with the freedom of speech, and I understand that with that, there's a bunch of good, but it also comes with a lot of bad. But if there was a way to put a system in place that worked, would you or would you not? And if you would, where would you draw the line as to what a punishable offense is? Why don't you let us know in the comments down below?
Yeah, it's so hard.
This is Don Imus. You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten. You're gonna like it, or I'll kick your ass.
If you live in Arizona, you better watch your tone online. The state legislature sent a bill to the governor's desk that would criminalize those comment section trolls. KTVX reports.
It's so broad, online editorials, illustrations, even your Facebook status updates are not safe.
It's an attempt to bring a decades-old law on harassment via telephone into the 21st century. Time reports the specific language of the bill. It is unlawful for any person with intent to terrify, intimidate, threaten, harass, annoy, or offend to use any electronic or digital device and use any obscene, lewd, or profane language, or suggest any lewd or lascivious act, or threaten to inflict physical harm to the person or property of any person. And if the governor signs a law and you break it, Forbes says you could be spending a few years behind bars. The bill uses a broad language that could turn a troublingly large swath of online chatter into a Class 1 misdemeanor, punishable by up to 25 years in jail. The Phoenix News-Times puts the bill into perspective, saying it's a big blow to freedom of speech. UCLA law professor Eugene Volokh points out that under the statute, posting a comment to a newspaper article or a blog saying that the article or post author is effing out of line would be a crime. It's said with intent to offend. It uses an electronic or digital device, and it uses what likely will be seen as profane language. Gizmodo's not a fan of the legislation, but it points out the bill's supporters argue that the steps are necessary to prevent online bullying. Despite the public outcry, the bill has seen very little resistance from elected officials. So no more trash talking on the internet. Comedy Central is even weighing in on this one, but I see a silver lining in this blatantly unconstitutional attempt to ban trolling. Though Arizona is doing its best to criminalize birth control and immigration, among other facets of the modern world, it still hasn't banned electricity. In fact, Arizona legislators use digital devices to draft legislation that is often plainly intended to annoy or offend anyone with a conscience. As of Tuesday, Governor Jan Brewer has not signaled her intention to sign or not to sign the bill. For Newsy, I'm David Earl. Multiple sources. The real story.
Anyone with a conscience. Now, you have to admit that the studies that have been done, including one I'm going to talk about a little bit later out of Wisconsin, that talk about the likelihood that most of these trolls are psychopaths or at least Machiavellian in their thinking, don't really care too much about other people. The thing about a psychopath is they care about number one. They can often mirror or emulate empathy, but they don't have it. And once you get them into a public position where they have to stand up for their words and actually be responsible for them, they shut the fuck up. I mean, that is the definition of a troll to me. You got to give bullies a little bit of credit. A bully out in public, these people, sometimes they got to get in a fight. They have a little bit of courage. They're still bullies, they're still dicks, but at least they don't hide behind their cast. Can you imagine in medieval warfare if all the wars were fought from commanders hiding behind castle walls? Honestly? I mean, that's kind of what's going on now with the military as we get into drone use and robotics, but it's still the definition of a coward. A coward, no courage. What do people really like? What are real men? See, I'm part of the old guard. I'm on my way out as far as popular thinking. I get that. But I'm part of the old guard in that I believe if you believe in what you're saying, you got to be willing to say it to somebody's face. Or else I have to take credibility away from what it is you're saying. I don't trust what you're saying because now I know that you're putting on a mask, and some of these people literally put on masks, and are pretending that they believe in something, or they're seeking to just fuck shit up. They're not interested in anything productive. That's different from a satirist or a practical joker that's looking to just have some fun, maybe at someone else's expense, but not when you get into the vicious area. And we are still trying to define this line. What's the line? Let me tell you one line that must not be crossed. And I think we can all agree on this. Well, 95% of us. You take a picture of a child and you post that child on Facebook and you say, would you fuck this little whore? Did you know that a guy just went to jail for that? He only got, I think, something like 16 months. But yeah, he went to jail. They're coming down on you. They're coming for you now. I like that. I like that because that's stepping over the line. This is an area where I can agree with most people right off the bat. I think some things are a little more gray. This one isn't so much. Once you bring in an innocent victim who stands to lose or be hurt by your attack, literally, I mean, these kids are very impressionable. They haven't even fully developed the part of their brain that allows them to think about things before they react, and they're hanging themselves with nooses in closets. Not very good for you to be putting a picture of them on Facebook saying, would you fuck this little whore? That's gone over the line. And now the law is agreeing with those of us that think like I do. Know where your line is. This person didn't just come over and tiptoe around the line. This person was motherfucking Carl Lewis at the Olympics, went 60 feet through the air over the line. Physical threats, you go to jail for those. If you say you're going to someone's house or someone's town to hurt them, you go to jail for that now. But I don't report people that do that. I invite them. Come on down. You think you got something to say to me to my face? Come the fuck down. Now, most of my audience that typically listens to this show, I learned through some past episodes, they weren't real happy with this part of me. They wanted to hear the intellectual stuff. They don't want to hear this infighting. And I hear you, and that's why I've responded in the way I have. That's why I'm not going to be vicious in this show. My show speaks for itself. The more, Eleanor Roosevelt said something like, large minds, expanded minds, intelligent minds talk about ideas. Average minds talk about events. And small minds talk about people. So I spend a remarkably low level of time talking about individual personalities. I'm going for the group understanding. In psychology, all you're talking about is people. But you can talk about the collective, the overall whole of the human mind, where it's going, culturally what's happening, politically what's happening, religiously what's happening, racially what's happening. Once you pick one person out, and that's all you can talk about, these people that will do 2-hour shows on Debbie Daily, or, it just, rah. She said, rah. Fuck off. Who listens to that? You know who listens to that? People looking for ammunition or people afraid that they'll be offended by it. See, this show is going to be listened to by a lot of trolls. Why? Because they want to know what's looking at them. Am I being exposed here? I don't like that idea. Look on YouTube for videos about trolls that are exposed in public and watch the way they react. They're terrified. They're usually little kids, or just someone who is, you're going to hear about some psychology of typical trolls, about how they're in pain. They are so mad that they're a failure, that they cannot reconcile in their minds through the cognitive dissonance that's keeping them away from the truth, that it is their own failures that they're out to implant in the lives of others, to inject themselves into your reality. And where my problem comes there is that imposes upon freedom. I love freedom. I like it when the little kid can walk through school and keep his lunch money. When the bully steps in the way, I see an impediment to freedom. That's what I see in my mind, and I have to do something about that. Always have been that way. But it now has worked its way into trolling. Trolls are starting to inject themselves into the normal paths of people's lives in a way that is not just an insult here or there, or something said in poor taste. It's a campaign. What small people are these? What small person sets him or herself up to target another individual relentlessly and figure out a way to destroy them when that person has done nothing to the attacker? Now, here's where I draw a line. If you've been fucked with, if you've been picked on and you didn't do anything to deserve it, or you just maybe made an off-center comment and now you're being a campaign of attack against you for it, okay, now I'm kind of giving you a license in my mind. Handle your business. You've been attacked. You want justice, go get it. But to the person initiating the attack because of someone else's success, or someone initiating the attack because someone else said something they disagreed with and turning it into a campaign of attacking, that person's going to fail. The future's going to bring them jail bars without collecting the $200 like you see in the image, or it's going to get them killed. And I got a little story about a British boxer here who was getting trolled, and he flipped the script real fast on these bitches. Now, I don't agree with the stalking thing. I don't think you react by going out and seeking out these people. I always invite them to a little bit of MMA, WWF ass whooping in my front yard. Come on down. I'll give you Southern hospitality. It's a whap whap and a whip whap is all you hear. You'll think you'll be beaten by 16 people, but it's just me. It's just me.
BIJANK.
Yeah, you get some of that, and all you'll hear when you go down to the ground is something like this. Oh yeah, and little there it goes.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Yeah, you might hear this. That's what the kids will do on the side, and then I'll go and pet my kitty. Let's get back to it. So I got a couple of more things for you. While I didn't pick out Arizona, Apocalypse, it was just that Arizona was it was in focus as far as the state that was now implementing laws against trolls. I thought it was kind of weird myself, but yeah, it's happening in Arizona, and now it's gone federal. They're actually striking out hard against these trolls. The ones that go over the line, you guys know, we all have in our minds a line. Now, the freedom of speech advocates are going to say everything must be left alone. You must be able to say anything online. I disagree with that. I think once you're hurting someone on a campaign of hurting them and not disagreeing with them in an intellectual way, I'm all for attacking their argument. If you can prove it, I have people attack my arguments sometimes, and I'd say 80% of the time, they don't bring the evidence. And I'm just like, please show me what you mean. Don't just say I'm wrong. Show me what you mean. And once in a while, somebody will say, well, look at this article in this study. Like Aaron and the JFK thing. Well, I was blowing off the JFK thing entirely. Why? Because I'm one of those people that goes with the widest body of evidence available. So yeah, I'm on that bandwagon of prove it or it doesn't exist. Well, he has seen some convincing information for him about this JFK conspiracy. I can't discount the possibility that there was a JFK conspiracy. I don't have enough evidence to do it. But when it comes to proof, I'm typically just like Carl Sagan there. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The body of evidence right now is, if we took it all and put it in a barrel, you've got 10 pounds that are showing that there was no government conspiracy and 2 pounds that showing that there was. So I want to see the 2 pounds come up over 10 pounds. Show me lots of evidence. Get me convinced that this was a conspiracy. And I don't want to know that it was just a conspiracy, which we'll talk about in another show. There's this thing we need to talk about with conspiracies where they're not always saying there was a conspiracy so much as they're saying the official story was wrong. I hear you. I hear you when they say the official story was wrong. You can prove that usually. Details, anomalies, you're going to find them. But details and anomalies that are incorrect don't always indicate a conspiracy. That's where people make the leap. There's a huge leap in logic there. So we'll get into that a little later about the another show, actually. I'm not even going to talk about conspiracy this show. But I'm not against these things that I hear are actual conspiracies. I'm just looking for evidence for them. If I don't have the evidence, I ask you why you believe in it so much. I'm missing the evidence you've seen. I want to see the evidence you've seen. I must be missing it. And then we get into weighting the evidence. Like, if you're going to trust somebody who's been in prison for 16 years and might get a book deal for something that they say, you have to handicap that evidence versus someone who has made a life track record for themselves telling the truth. You can give them a little more credit. That can be heavier evidence, especially if they have circumstantial proof to go along with what they're saying. But people lie. People lie. People are mistaken. You hear from police officers that eyewitnesses make the worst experts. You got to question everything. But just because there's an anomaly in a finding does not equal necessarily a conspiracy, is all I'm saying. And some of these conspiracies, like these vaccination things causing, what are they saying, autism, they've done the studies now. Your child is far more likely to die from not getting vaccinated against the popular bugs out there than they are from any side effect of a vaccine. This science is solid. Why are people still arguing this? Well, that's for another show. Let's get back into bullies. Bullies are bitch boys. Trolls are bitch boys. And bitch boys on the KTap show get bajanked. You know this, right? You've seen it happen before. Yeah, if you haven't, listen to a few old episodes. And you'll hear something start to evolve. And then you'll hear, precisely like that. Or if I'm feeling in a better mood, I might hit him with that. Let's listen here to a little bit more about these bullies, these internet trolls. Most of them, that get vicious and go on campaigns and they do this in a preconceived, planned manner, they're losers. They're feeling pain. They're feeling insignificant. They don't have real friends. And what they enjoy is the rise they get out of finding a normal person and getting them to react. And do you know what that's saying to them in their subconscious? This is the biggest secret of a troll. I just mattered. I just mattered. I didn't matter before.